We have worked our way into the kitchen, and here to make us his very famous pressure cooker barbecue beef ribs with maple butter delicata squash.
Wow.
Please welcome back our very good friend, Food Network star and Wurstmacher. Did I say it right?
You say it better every time.
Thank you so much for Doghouse Restaurants, Adam Gertler. We're so glad to have you, Adam.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me back. And you know what? Today I'm taking a departure from sausages and hot dogs.
Right, which
Because-
is, I was surprised.
It's a big deal.
You gotta expand. I'm a barbecue guy at heart, okay? My first restaurant was a barbecue place in Philly. Smoking meats, barbecue is how I really got into food.
Right.
So what we're gonna do today is something that is kind of seasonal.
Right.
'Cause it's autumn, we're getting into cooler weather. So we got a little squash. We have sort of a braise, but braising can be a bit of a drag because it takes like 2.5, 3 hours.
Long time.
So
Is that why we're making the ribs?
That's
in the
why
pressure
we're
cooker?
using the pressure cooker, because I'm obsessed with pressure cookers. They've become very popular recently.
Everybody's using pressure
Well,
cookers.
they're old school, but they've gotten better. So there's all different kinds on the market out there. But the fact is, if you have a tough piece of meat, and we're doing a beef short rib today, okay? Now, a beef short rib cooked that thick is really tough because it has lots of collagen and connective tissue that needs to break down. The meat itself is all the same, but it's the connective tissue that we need to break down. And what a pressure cooker does, it allows the steam to get hotter than 212 degrees, which is as hot as water can get, and then it evaporates, right?
Sure.
So it's keeping the evaporate in there, so you're able to cook at a higher temperature without burning, without what dry heat can do to it.
And it only takes half the time almost.
Yes, so
right?
these ribs, once we bring them to pressure, anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes, depending on your pressure cooker
I know,
and how
right?
thick they are. And I'm talking meltingly tender, like you guys cut
I
into
just
those.
like to use this,
Yeah,
and
you
it
don't
fell
need
off with the fork, so I don't need this
The man
anymore.
knows his barbecue.
It's kind of like the difference between something like this being, I decide the day of, I want to make beef short ribs and I can actually have it done for dinner tonight versus
Right.
it's got to be a whole thing.
Right, exactly.
You know?
So we sear them in the pressure cooker
Okay, so the
first, right? For how
reason we're
long?
searing about a minute on each side is just to kind of, searing is great for flavor,
Right.
and it creates a crust. Because the meat is so tender, we want to make a crust on the outside so you have a contrast between a little bit of a crust and then the give that's inside. That's more satisfying than just a stewy falling apart.
Right,
You know?
yeah, yeah,
You want
yeah.
contrast.
And is it seasoned before you do
I season these with a combination of 5-spice powder and a little bit of salt and sugar. And
Okay.
you can see that recipe, but you can use any kind of rub. Now, sugar's good, but don't use too much sugar because then when you sear, it will burn.
Okay, and what's it, just oil? Any kind of
Just a
oil?
little bit of vegetable oil.
Okay, a little
Now,
vegetable
these
oil.
are going to give a good amount of fat as well, too. So now, once they're nice and seared, we're going to put in what is going to be kind of the barbecue sauce, but it's also the pressure cooking braising liquid. Now,
Okay.
I like this better than a classic barbecue sauce. We have garlic and onion and ginger going in.
Okay,
Because when the ribs cook, they're going to give up a lot of their juices, and it's
Yes.
going to flavor the sauce. So you're not just going to get this cloyingly sweet
No.
sugar barbecue sauce.
You've got the broth from the meat.
Exactly, and then we're going to add some apple cider.
Nice.
Again, very seasonal. Love apple cider. Yes, question over here. I'm sorry, I thought I saw a hand go up.
I'm just very excited.
So that was a little bit of beef stock too. That was low sodium
just
beef
excited.
stock.
Okay.
Whenever you're kind of cooking a braise, always use the low sodium because you want to be able to balance the salt later.
Right.
Obviously.
Ketchup.
Little ketchup goes
Love
in.
it.
Classic barbecue ingredient. Then we got a little tomato paste, which again, after we remove this and we take the ribs out, we're going to reduce it a little bit. This is gochujang. This is a Korean fermented bean paste and chili.
Which is spicy.
It's a little bit spicy, and it's a very popular ingredient these days. And
how do you say it?
Gochujang.
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 Of course.
Yes.
You can find it in most markets in the ethnic food section. Certainly out here in California, they're everywhere. But it's become a lot more popular. And it's a very savory kind of like baseline quality.
Okay, and that we just
That
put
was
in?
a little brown sugar.
Brown sugar, honey.
A little bit of honey. Okay.
Oh,
And then
vinegar?
we're still going. Rice vinegar here.
Okay.
You need
Gosh,
a little
there's
bit of
a lot
tang.
of ingredients in this.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so
Oh.
this one, be judicious. This is
Oh,
liquid
yeah.
smoke, okay?
Liquid smoke.
A lot of people are anti-liquid smoke, but I think it's because people tend to use too much.
And then it overpowers.
It overpowers. So we're
Yeah.
just using like half a teaspoon in this, and what that's going to do is it's actually going to give you a barbecue-like quality. So it's going to remind you of something that was cooked
I get that here.
over
Yeah.
wood. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. These are indoor barbecue ribs because when it's a little bit cold, and as it gets colder, we can't always go out and hit the grill.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless you're a psycho like myself. And
Or
you're-
my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law have pictures of him doing it in Virginia in the snow.
Yeah, so
Love you,
now,
Kevin.
I just want to show you. So what we have here is a sauce that's thin. It's thinner than a barbecue sauce because right now it's not barbecue sauce yet. It's going to be our flavorful steam that's going to flavor the ribs. Now we're going to put one of these racks in here.
And we put the ribs on top of it.
Then we put the ribs on top because we're not actually braising it. We're more, it's pressure. That's right. It's a flavorful environment. They're being cooked in a very flavorful steam. Okay, so now we're going to turn this up, and we have to bring this up to pressure. This is always the trickiest part. You're going to get the lid on here.
Right, this way. There we go.
Hey-oh! Always fun. Okay.
There we go.
So once that's done, then we
Right.
lock it. Now we're going to bring this up to pressure. We're going to turn this up to pressure.
And how long will it cook?
35 minutes.
That's it.
And then turn off the heat and let the pressure naturally reduce. If you do the rapid pressure, sometimes it can toughen up the outside of the meat. So just let it come down, and you'll know when the pressure is released because it'll open.
And that's like how long? Like
30 minutes.
About 10 minutes. So the pressure has to release. You turn off the heat, and then about 10 minutes to release the pressure. If you're in a jam, you could do the rapid release and just let it out.
Right.
I find that the product tends to be a little bit better when you naturally release.
Okay, so then we
after
take
that
them
amount
out.
of time, so the ribs are going to come out like this. Now this is when you want to check.
Beautiful.
They're not going to get any more tender, so you want to make sure they're tender enough. Otherwise, you could go back into pressure if you need to. So I'm going to go like that.
Oh, goodness,
And I
Adam.
could see I got the give.
There.
Now,
Woo.
and if they're not, you just put it right back in.
put it back in,
no
reseal
harm, no
it.
foul.
Yeah, no harm, no foul. You'll just have to wait a little bit longer, but good things are worth waiting for. So then you're going to need to just skim off some of the fat in there because there is going to be a good amount
So
of fat.
this is the sauce that we made.
And then this is the sauce. We kind of
That's
reduce
beautiful.
it. We skimmed off some of the fat, and you have a sort of barbecue sauce, but like I said, it's a little bit more savory, and it's got a little bit more complexity.
Prefer it, actually.
Yeah.
And now if you wanted to do this easy, you could, of course, do like just a store-bought rub. You could do a store-bought sauce and maybe
Yeah,
just
but
add a little
why?
beef
It's
stock
so
to it.
it's easy to do that.
It's easy to do it.
Yeah.
But I really want you to take away the technique of like doing something like a beef rib in the pressure cooker and having these results that you would pay $30-something for in a restaurant.
You're not kidding. So then these go in the oven.
In the broiler. We just
Okay.
want to broil because, again, now this is tender, so I want to make a shell. I want to make a little bit of a crust.
Okay.
So we're just going to pop these into the broiler here.
There you go. And you do that very quick because a broiler can burn them very fast.
You got to watch. You got to know your broiler. You got to know your equipment in any of this stuff
Sure.
because no recipe is ever going to be 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
But then what you see, you have these beautiful ribs that are
Look
just
at
like
that, already falling
coming
off the
right
bone.
off the bone. And you don't need to use the ones on the bone, but I personally like to very much.
Don't you feel that the bone gives it more flavor?
I sure do.
Okay.
I sure do. I think there is a lot of truth to the closer to the bone, the sweeter the meat.
Yeah.
So then we're just going to serve that right there. That's one person's serving
But then
with the bone.
You've also made a beautiful delicata squash.
Yes,
to
of
serve with
course.
this as well.
So delicata squash also very much in season right now, very much happening. You know why it's called delicata squash, Debbie?
Because it's delicata.
Because it's delicate, yeah. The skin is delicate. You can eat the skin. And you could cut this a lot of ways. I just cut this in half. We took the seeds out, and then we brushed the slices with a combination of butter and maple syrup and brown sugar.
Oh, how can you go wrong?
Man.
And I also like the little tip that we were talking about earlier, that this is half of the carbs.
Yes, delicata squash of like a sweet potato, like there's something like 2 net grams of carbs per ounce of this. So
And coming up on the holidays, it's you know, this could help.
Yeah,
You're going to be eating a lot of
we'll take
cookies.
the carb cutting where we can get it.
Yeah.
exactly, but you still get the feeling of something that is smooth and creamy. Then we have some pecans here
those are
that we just candied as well.
Listen,
So to candy the pecans, it's just brown sugar and water, and then you kind of stir it, and then you boil that in the pan until that reduces and gets thick. And then once it's thick and syrupy, it kind of coats the nuts, and the nuts start to toast. And once they smell toasted, they're really candied, and it's a simple way to candy.
So you do that all in the pan. You don't like reduce it down first and then add
No,
it.
yeah, put the nuts right in the pan with the brown sugar and the water.
You're actually gonna make this, aren't you?
Yeah,
As a pressure
very
cooker,
easy
you
to
know
do.
the recipe.
that's exactly
Adam, I'm
right. You're
going
gonna put
in
that
right
pressure
there.
cooker to work.
Do you see that? Look at how I'm in.
Yeah.
Look at that, everybody.
That's-
Now wait till you taste it. Dive in. Here we go.
Adam, are you impressed with yourself?
I'm
Tell me right now, Adam, thank you so much.
I'm
This
impressed
is
with the
so
good people at
delicious.
home
Yeah.
and family that help prepare.
This is so good. Listen, this recipe will be in our fall recipes
My
and DIYs
gosh.
book that's available at
That's a
hallmarkchannel.com. You can download it there and can also connect with Adam on his social media, and you'll want to do that because it's really good, everybody.